Now let's discuss Jupiter in the ninth house in Scorpio. This will be my 9th installment in the series of Jupiter in the ninth house in each and every zodiac sign. In the first installment, we sorted out a basic interpretive template for what to expect from Jupiter in the ninth house in general. We came to the conclusion that it indicates being very ethically motivated and driven, being very intelligent and therefore a very capable natural leader and guide, and also being very prosperous and successful and fruitful, and therefore attractive as a mate. Now it's time to take that basic information about Jupiter in the ninth house and tailor fit it to the fact that we're looking at Jupiter in the ninth house in Scorpio. I'd like to start by saying that if Jupiter is in Scorpio ninth house and you're using a whole sign house system, which I highly recommend, then that Jupiter must be the Lord of the 10th and the 1st. Because if Scorpio is the ninth house, then Sagittarius must be the 10th and Pisces must be the 1st. So if Jupiter is in Scorpio ninth house, we know that the 1st and the 10th lords are one planet and in the ninth house. So what can we say about that? What we're doing is we're taking the Lord of the self and the Lord of your influence and combining them and putting them in a blessed place. So what that indicates is a person who is very personally influential. So that's very interesting. We can figure that out about Jupiter and Scorpio in the ninth house. What else do we know about Jupiter and Scorpio in the ninth house? How about just the fact that it's in Scorpio? Well, I have a whole video on the details of what Jupiter and Scorpio represents. I'll put a link to that in the description below if you want to know about that. Just to summarize, the bottom line of Jupiter and Scorpio is heterodoxy, sexiness, and deception. And besides these two columns of meaning, we also know that Jupiter in the ninth house represents certain things on its own. Highly ethically motivated, very intelligent and a natural leader, very prosperous and fruitful and therefore attractive. So the way to understand Jupiter and Scorpio in the ninth house is just to look at those three things about it and see where they're on the same page. So for example, Jupiter in the ninth house is supposed to be very influential, a natural leader. And that's exactly what we said about the 1st and the 10th lords going to the ninth house. Very influential, personally influential. So if Jupiter is in Scorpio in the ninth house, then expect this person to be a leader even more than the baseline template of Jupiter in the ninth, which already indicates leadership capacity. They are able to influence other people by being themselves. Other people kind of look at them being themselves and want to learn from that. Another thing is that Jupiter in the ninth house is very fruitful, which means probably productive, which means attractive as a mate. So Jupiter in the ninth is very attractive, and Jupiter in Scorpio is very sexy. So expect a person with Jupiter and Scorpio in the ninth house to be even more sexy or attractive than the basic interpretation of Jupiter in the ninth house. And one interesting thing is that Jupiter in the ninth is very ethically motivated, but Jupiter in Scorpio is deceptive, which means it's got fluid ethics. It doesn't really write rules in stone. It writes rules very much in pencil. So that's kind of a contradiction between the two. And hence, when Jupiter is in Scorpio in the ninth house, this person is indeed quite motivated by what they believe. But we can say something specific about what they believe. It's heterodox. And what does heterodox mean? It means it stands in opposition to the established norms. Who do we know who has Jupiter and Scorpio in the ninth house? Deepak Chopra. Is Deepak Chopra a leader? Certainly a very, very successful leader. Is Deepak Chopra kind of attractive or sexy? Well, maybe not terribly, but maybe a bit, because otherwise people wouldn't like him. But the real thing that Deepak Chopra really illustrates well is this third concept of having heterodox motivations. So he's very driven by his beliefs. But his beliefs are very much heterodox or in opposition to the previously established sciences and norms. So he presents himself as a psychologist and as a doctor and so forth, but he doesn't really present any accepted scientific conclusions. He draws his own conclusions. So that's a good example of somebody who's very strident about things and values, but those values are very different than what was previously established. It's not often easy to be successful when you do that. Actually, it's quite difficult to be successful at doing that. So how did Deepak Chopra become very wealthy and very successful as a heterodox advisor and guide, like a new age guru? Well, from his chart, we would expect that because his ninth house has many Raja Yogas. So it's not just Jupiter in the ninth house, but it's Jupiter in the ninth house surrounded by many Raja Yogas. So for example, his Jupiter as the first and 10th Lord is joined to the ninth Lord. So that's taking two angular houses and joining them with a trinal house in the ninth house with the ninth Lord. It's a very strong Raja Yoga. In addition to that, his ninth Lord also joins the fourth and seventh Lords. So there are plenty of Raja Yogas in this chart that empowers it, makes it able to be successful in areas which is very difficult to be successful. If you want to understand the whole context of your chart, the soil in which your interpretive seeds grow, then visit my website, vicdekara.com, and click Readings. My complete chart report explains each and every nook and cranny of your chart and will keep you occupied in self-discovery for years. I also have two groundbreaking new reports. The first of these, Your Nakshatra, organizes your active nakshatras in order of their importance to you and presents the fundamental interpretations for the planets that occupy them. And the newest report, Star Strength, uses a system called Tara-Bala to unfold 90 interpretations of the nuanced relationships between all the planets in your chart, which paints a rich and detailed picture of how your various strengths cooperate or compete with each other. Order these or any of my reports and accelerate your journey to deeper self-understanding.